The Force is old and full of shadows.
The speeder cuts through Coruscant's upper atmosphere at 300 kilometers per hour, and Anakin Skywalker is 22 years old again. He knows this instantly. Not the way a man waking from a dream knows, that slow, fumbling reassembly of the self, but with the complete, settled certainty of a soldier reading a battlefield. The hands on the controls are young. The body is whole. One hand flesh and bone and blood. One the familiar weight of the prosthetic he stopped noticing years ago. 10 fingers wrapped around the veins of a speeder he last saw in a life that ended on a Death Star above the forest moon. He lets go of the controls for exactly 1 second. The speeder bucks. The city streaks past in rivers of amber light. 10,000 lanes of traffic stacked above and below him in columns that reach from the planet's crust to the edge of the sky. He grabs the controls again, steadies it. He breathes. The last thing he remembers is Luke's face. His son's hands cradling his head in the hangar bay, the Emperor gone into the dark below them. The smell of ozone and scorched metal and something underneath it that might have been peace. He remembers saying something. He remembers the green fire of a funeral pyre reflected in orange sky. He remembers the Force, not as a tool, not as a weapon, not as the endless dark channel through which Sidious had poured 20 years of his servitude, but as a tide coming in, warm and enormous, pulling him gently under. And then this. Coruscant, the Senate District. The speedway above the Jedi Temple approach corridor. He knows exactly where he is going. He knows exactly why. The panicked boy this body belongs to, the boy who is now, somehow him, was racing toward Mace Windu's quarters with a confession burning in his throat and a secret that would split the Republic in half. Palpatine, Darth Sidious. The Chancellor's office. The hidden lightsabers. The war, both sides of it, engineered from a single desk in the executive building. He knows all of it. Not because he is remembering it as a future. Because he lived it. Because he spent 23 years as the instrument that helped it all come true. 17 of them as the Emperor's enforcer. 6 more watching the wreckage from behind a black mask that turned every breath into penance. The grief hits him without warning. It doesn't announce itself. It arrives the way cold arrives when you step from shelter. Not a blow, but a presence. Total and immediate. Padmé. Her face in the medical bay on Polis Massa. The words the medical droid delivered in a voice designed to be gentle and somehow making it worse. She has lost the will to live. His children, carried away in the arms of people he would later hunt. Obi-Wan's expression on the high ground at Mustafar, not anger, not triumph, but grief so acute it looked like a wound. His hands tighten on the controls. The grief sits in his chest like a coal. He doesn't extinguish it. He has learned, finally, after everything, that grief does not get extinguished. It becomes fuel or it becomes rot, and the difference between the two is the choice you make about what to do next. He knows what comes next. The speeder begins its descent toward the temple's upper landing platform, and he catalogs what he has. A young body, fully intact, both arms, the peak physical conditioning of a 22-year-old who has spent his entire life in combat. A midi-chlorian count that tops 20,000. He can feel it now. The Force no longer the stunted, suit-restricted instrument of his imperial years, but a full and open channel. Every nerve ending lit. He reaches out with it instinctively, a reflex as natural as drawing breath, and the force of it almost makes him laugh. This is what he was. Before, this is what they took. He does not waste time on anger about that. Either, anger is for men who still have something to prove. What else? He knows the exact layout of Palpatine's executive office, every piece of furniture, every concealed compartment in the Chancellor's desk, the precise location of the lightsaber hidden in his sleeve, and the second secured beneath the left panel of his chair. He knows Palpatine's opening attack, the stumble drop that isn't a stumble, loading a corkscrew spin that comes up from the left and takes the head off anyone not already moving backward. He knows which of the 4 masters will move to close range, and which will hold wide, and which will hesitate 1/2 second too long. He knows who dies first. Not this time. The landing platform rises to meet him. He sets the speeder down with the calm precision of a man who has done this 10,000 times. Because he has, and cuts the engine. For a moment, he sits in the sudden quiet. The wind off the upper city is cold at this altitude. He can hear it move through the temple's transmission arrays above him, a low hum that the Jedi call the voice of the living force on days when they're feeling poetic. He was never good at poetry. He leaves the speeder. The temple entrance corridor is empty at this hour. Dawn is still 3 hours away. The stone beneath his boots is the same stone he walked as a child, as a Padawan, as a knight. The same polished durasteel veined granite that he will never walk again after tomorrow, in the life this body came from. He registers this without sentiment. Sentiment is for after. He is a soldier. He has a mission. He knows exactly which turbolift takes him to the upper residential quarters. He knows Mace Windu will be awake. The Master keeps early hours, a habit Anakin never understood as a young man and now, having spent 2 decades commanding armies, understands completely. He knows what Mace will see when the door opens. Anakin Skywalker, 22, standing in a temple corridor in the hours before dawn. He knows what Mace will assume. Recklessness, emotion, another crisis manufactured by the most difficult student the Order has ever produced. He's counted on harder odds. The turbolift ascends. He watches the floors tick past in the indicator panel and does the only thing he has left to do before the door opens and everything begins. He says goodbye. Not aloud. It is not that kind of moment. But he finds them, the faces of the life he left, and he holds each one for exactly as long as he can afford. Luke, Leia, though he never truly knew her, though the knowing of her now is a specific pain he sets carefully to one side. Obi-Wan, dying on the Death Star floor, more light than body by the end. The Emperor's throne room, the son who did not give up on him. He got to die as himself. Whatever force or miracle or cosmic accident has returned him here, he doesn't chase the question. He already knows he won't get an answer. He heard Qui-Gon's voice, or something that wore it, in the half-second between lives. A single word, if it was a word at all. Go. The turbolift stops. The doors open. He steps into the corridor, and he walks toward Mace Windu's quarters. And he does not hurry, because men who hurry are men who are afraid, and he is not afraid. And there is no room for fear in what comes next. There is only what must be done. He raises his hand to knock on the door. Behind him, 30 levels below and 6 kilometers west, the lights in Chancellor Palpatine's office burn against the Coruscant night. And the most dangerous man alive sits behind his desk and does not yet know the shape of what is coming for him. The knuckles connect with the door. The door opens on the third knock. Mace Windu stands in the frame with the particular stillness of a man who was already awake, already dressed, and already armed. The dark purple blade is not ignited. The hilt is in his hand. His eyes move from Anakin's face to his hands to the corridor behind him in less than a second. A combat sweep. Automatic. The reflex of a man who has survived 30 years of service to the Order by never assuming a late-night knock is innocent. He finds nothing threatening. He finds Anakin Skywalker, alone, standing with both hands visible, no ignited blade, no wound, no wild look in his eyes. That last part makes Mace go very still. Skywalker, the voice is flat, controlled, not unwelcoming. Mace Windu does not do unwelcoming. Because unwelcoming implies the visitor has the power to unsettle you, and he does not grant that. It is 4 a.m. I know, Anakin said. I need 30 minutes. It concerns the Chancellor. The word lands. Mace's grip on the unignited hilt shifts, not tighter, just different, more deliberate. Come in, he said. The quarters are exactly as Anakin remembers them. Spare, functional, a single viewport looking west over the Senate district, the city's light painting the room in amber and shadow. No decorative objects. One shelf of physical texts, their spines worn to illegibility. A low table with 2 chairs positioned at angles that would allow either occupant to see the door. Mace Windu's quarters are arranged like a room where a man expects, at some level, to be interrupted. Anakin takes one of the chairs without being invited. The familiarity of it, the ease, The absence of the old Padawan deference flickers across Mace's face like a cloud passing. He notices it. He files it. He sits. "Talk," Mace said. Anakin looks at him for a moment. Not calculation, he doesn't need to calculate, he has had 30 years to rehearse this, but something closer to acknowledgement. He is looking at a man who will be dead in 6 hours, if this conversation goes wrong. A man who survived Palpatine's office for longer than any other Jedi in canon, purely on the strength of his own extraordinary ability, and still nearly wasn't enough. He decides to begin with the thing that will hurt most. "Palpatine is Darth Sidious," Anakin said. The room doesn't change. The amber light still falls across the low table. The city traffic hums 40 stories below. Mace Windu's expression does not move. Then he stands. It is not an aggressive motion. No hand going to the hilt. No physical escalation. He simply stands. Because the energy in his body at this moment is incompatible with sitting. He moves to the viewport and looks out at the Senate district, at the lights of the executive building visible on the horizon, burning against the dark. The silence holds for 7 full seconds. "You're certain," Mace said. "Not a question." "Completely," Anakin replied. "How long have you known?" "Since tonight." The lie by omission sits cleanly. What he means is, since tonight, in this body, in this life. What Mace hears is, "I found out tonight." Both are true in the ways that matter. Mace turns from the viewport. His eyes carry something Anakin has never seen in them before, has never been in a position to see, in any version of this life, which is a crack in the absolute composure. Not fear. Mace Windu does not do fear either. Something rawer than that. The look of a man who has spent years sensing a wrongness he could never locate, and has just been handed the coordinates. "Tell me everything," he said. "Leave nothing out." Anakin talks for 20 minutes. He is careful. This is the first and most critical constraint he has placed on himself. Not the conversation with Palpatine, not the confrontation, not the fight itself, but this room, this exchange. Because if he says too much, Mace will ask how he knows, and if he answers that question truthfully, the entire operation collapses under the weight of its own impossibility. He cannot afford that. What he gives Mace is everything that a clever, observant Jedi Knight, who had just been told the tragedy of Darth Plagueis, might reasonably have deduced in a single night of desperate thinking. The corruption of the Senate. The separatist command structure and its coordination with the Chancellor's office. The clone army, its origins on Kamino. The gap in the records that no one in the Order has ever adequately explained. The way the war has been managed, both sides of it, to ensure it never ends, only escalates, only feeds. And the office. The lightsaber concealed in his sleeve, the second secured beneath the left panel of his chair. The killing technique, the drop, the spin, the way it targets whoever is standing closest, rather than whoever is standing strongest. When he finishes, Mace is seated again. His hands rest flat on the low table. He is not looking at Anakin. He is looking at something in the middle distance that only he can see. Anakin knows what he is seeing. He is running the Shatterpoint. "Your midi-chlorian count," Mace said quietly, not looking up. "Has anything changed in the last several hours?" Anakin goes still. It is the one question he did not fully account for. Not because he didn't know Mace would sense something, he expected that, planned for it, but because he didn't know Mace would name it this directly, this quickly. He has underestimated the man's precision. He files that away for future reference and answers calmly. "I don't know how to explain what's changed," Anakin said. "I'm not certain I should try." Mace finally looks at him. The dark eyes are measuring him in a way that has nothing to do with combat assessment, and everything to do with the particular kind of perception that makes Mace Windu singular among the living masters. "You feel different," Mace said. "Not your presence in the Force. That is the same magnitude, the same connection, but the quality of it." He pauses, searches for the word with the care of a man who does not misuse language. Resolved. Something in Anakin's chest tightens. He keeps it from his face. "You always said I was dangerous," Anakin replied. Too much potential, too little control. Is that still what you see? No, Mace said. And the word falls differently than any word he has ever directed at Anakin Skywalker in any version of events either of them has lived through. Without the weight of preemptive judgment, without the particular wariness of a man who has always felt, in his bones, that this young knight is a storm system waiting to make landfall. He says it, like a fact. Neutral, observed, whatever happened to you tonight, Mace continued, it was not a small thing. And you're not going to tell me what it was. No, Anakin said. The Master nods once, files it, moves on. This, too, is something Anakin did not expect from him, the pragmatism of it, the willingness to accept an incomplete dataset when the mission requires moving forward. He has always thought of Mace as an obstacle. Rigid, unyielding, he is seeing, for the first time, what made him a great general. We'll need 3 others, Mace said. Masters, I trust completely. Kolar, Tien, Fisto, yes, Anakin said. And I come with you. Mace looks at him. You walk into that office with us, Anakin continued. And I walk with you. Not behind you. Not waiting in the corridor. I am in that room when the arrest happens, and here is why. He leans forward, both arms on the table, and lets the weight of what he is about to say carry itself. He will try to use me. Whatever speech he gives, whatever offer he makes, he will direct it at me. If I'm not in the room, he makes it through a comlink, or he waits until after and tries to split us politically. If I'm there, you see everything in real time. No gaps, no opportunity. The silence stretches. Mace Windu, who has spent 20 years being the hardest yes to earn in the entire Jedi Order, says, agreed. He rises, moves to the comm panel on the wall. Get some sleep, Skywalker. 2 hours. We move at first light. Anakin stands. He moves toward the door, and he is almost through it when Mace speaks again, quietly, without turning from the comm panel. You said you couldn't explain what changed. A pause. I'm not asking you to. But whatever it was the right direction. Anakin stops. The words land somewhere beneath the sternum, in the specific place where grief and something adjacent to gratitude occupy the same square meter of chest. He doesn't answer. He steps through the door, and it closes behind him, and he finds the nearest alcove and stands in it for exactly 60 seconds, alone in the dark, until the feeling passes. Then he moves. The briefing room on the temple's 4th residential tier is not meant for councils of war. It is a teaching space. Low ceilings, circular arrangement, walls lined with star maps that haven't been updated since the Outer Rim campaigns began pulling resources away from cartography. A training remote sits forgotten in the corner, its sensors dark. The room smells of old stone and recycled air, and the particular neutrality of a space that has held 1,000 arguments and retained none of them. Mace chose it specifically. Not the council chamber, too exposed, too many access points in the walls for audio surveillance, and at least 3 of those access points have been compromised by Senate intelligence in the last 18 months. Not his own quarters, too small for 5. This room has one entrance, no internal recording systems, and sits directly beneath a communications array that generates enough electromagnetic interference to make external monitoring unreliable. Anakin notes all of this the moment he steps through the door. The man chose well. The 3 masters are already seated when he arrives. Aegon Kolar occupies the chair nearest the door, arms crossed, watching Anakin enter with an expression that communicates nothing, except the fact that it is currently communicating nothing. He is a Zabrak, gray-skinned and ridge-crowned, and he moves through the galaxy with the particular self-containment of a man who decided long ago that words are an inefficient use of breath. His lightsaber hangs at his hip with the ease of something that has been there so long it has become anatomical. He will die first, in the other version of this. A single stroke, before he can bring his blade to bear. Gone in under a second. Anakin does not look at him too long. Sissy Tien sits across from Kolar, one leg folded beneath him, a data pad balanced on his knee that he is not reading. The Iktachi Master has the kind of face that discourages casual conversation. The great curved horns, the heavy brow, The eyes that look as though they are processing information several seconds ahead of whatever you are currently saying. He is a pilot first, everything else second, and he wears that priority the way Mace wears his composure. Totally, and without apology. Kit Fisto is the only one who looks up when Anakin enters, and the only one who nods. The Nautolan's Lekku shift with the movement, and his expression carries something that might, in a less guarded man, be called warmth. He is the most naturally at ease of the three, not careless, nothing close to careless, but possessed of a quality Anakin has always privately respected, the ability to be fully present in a dangerous situation without performing tension. 3 extraordinary men, 3 men who should not have to die for the Republic's failure to see what was standing in front of it. He takes the remaining chair. Skywalker, Tien said. The word does the work of an entire sentence. Master Tien, Anakin replied. Mace enters 30 seconds later, closes the door himself, and remains standing. When Mace Windu stands in a room instead of sitting, the room adjusts to him. The quality of attention in the space changes. What I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room until the operation is complete, Mace said. Questions come after, not during. We move in 4 hours. He looks at each of them in turn. Palpatine is Darth Sidious. Kit Fisto's expression doesn't change. Tien sets down the datapad. Kolar unfolds his arms. The silence lasts 3 seconds, the silence of men absorbing a fact that restructures everything they thought they knew about the last 13 years. And then Mace says, Skywalker brings us the intelligence. He will walk us through it. Every eye in the room comes to Anakin. He doesn't stand. Standing would be performative, and this moment does not need performance. He leans forward, elbows on knees, and speaks the way he would speak to Rex before a ground assault. Precise, sequential, no editorializing. He has a lightsaber concealed in his sleeve. Anakin began. There's a second beneath the left panel of his desk chair. His first movement will be to stand, use the motion of standing to draw the sleeve blade. The draw is fast. Faster than you'll expect from a man his age. He pauses. He's been hiding for decades. Decades of hiding makes a man very good at one thing in particular, which is closing the distance between concealment and lethality in less time than the human eye registers as meaningful. Kolar's eyes move to Mace. Mace does not look back. Mace is watching Anakin. His opening combination begins with a drop. Anakin continued. He goes low, not a stumble, not a feint in the conventional sense, but a complete drop of his center of gravity, simultaneous with the draw. If you read it as weakness or injury, you're already inside the radius of the follow strike. The follow is a corkscrew from the left, ascending. He's targeting whoever is standing at close range, not whoever is the greatest threat, whoever is closest. He lets that land. Fisto speaks first. He prioritizes proximity over threat assessment. Yes, Anakin said, which means standard formation, lead master forward, support spread, hands him his first kill automatically. He meets Fisto's eyes. We don't stack. We don't let anyone hold close range without a blade already up. The entry formation needs to be staggered, wide, every member of the team outside arm's reach of the next. You're describing a perimeter entry, Tien said. 4 walls, no center. 5 points, Anakin corrected. I take the direct line to Palpatine. I am the one he will be watching. His attention on me is the window the rest of you use. He says it without ego, not I am the most important, but I am the most useful distraction. There is a difference, and all 4 masters are acute enough to hear it. Kolar speaks for the first time. His voice is lower than Anakin expected, measured and slow. How do you know his attack pattern? The question is direct. No hostility in it. Kolar doesn't traffic in hostility any more than he traffics in excess words. It is simply the question that the information demands. Anakin was ready for it. Because I've been close to him for 3 years, he said, and I've watched him move. The way he walks, the way he stands up from chairs, the way he gestures when he's performing patience he doesn't feel. He holds Kolar's gaze. A man's combat style lives in his body all the time. You don't switch it off when you're pretending to be a politician. Kolar considers this. Nods once, fractionally, There's something else, Anakin said. He addresses the room, but he is watching Mace, because what comes next requires Mace's authority to land correctly. When we enter that office, Palpatine is going to shift tactics the moment he knows physical combat is unavoidable. He will stop being the Chancellor. He will try to become Sidious, and what that means, specifically, is manipulation. He will read the room, find whoever in it has the deepest unresolved conflict, and speak directly to that wound. He is extraordinarily good at this, better than any of you are probably prepared for. Fisto tilts his head slightly. You're warning us. I'm telling you to expect it and not engage with it, Anakin said. Whatever he says to you in that room, don't answer. Don't refute it. Don't let it accelerate your decision-making. He wants the arrest to become a fight because a fight gives him options. The moment anyone in that room gives him a genuine emotional response, he recalculates, and whatever advantage we've built from the approach disappears. Tin leans back. And you, he said. What does he say to you? A reasonable question. The most dangerous question in the room. Everything that would have worked on me 6 years ago, Anakin said. It won't work now. He says it simply, without drama, without the kind of emphasis that invites challenge. He says it the way he would say the target is at these coordinates, as a logistical fact whose verification is not the point, because the operation needs to move, and relitigating it wastes time neither of them has. Tien looks at him for a long moment. Then he picks the datapad back up. Mace steps to the star map on the near wall, pulls up a structural diagram of the executive building's upper floors, standard Senate security clearance, nothing that would flag the access, and sets 2 fingers on the Chancellor's office level. Entry point is the main reception, Mace said. We take the secured turbolift from the lobby level using Chancellor authorization codes that Skywalker has legitimate access to. A look at Anakin. Confirmation. Yes, Anakin said. We move at dawn. Commander Fox and the Coruscant Guard are not in the loop. Rex gets a communication from Skywalker 1 hour before we move, a security lockdown order on the executive district, framed as a precautionary measure for a credible threat. Nothing that names the Chancellor. Nothing that forces Fox's hand before we're already inside. Fisto nods slowly. And if it goes wrong? It won't, Anakin said. The room looks at him. He doesn't qualify it. He doesn't soften it or append the tactical caveats that a younger version of himself would have added to seem appropriately humble. He simply holds the certainty in the room like a weight he has been carrying long enough that it no longer costs him anything to hold. Mace closes the star map. Get your equipment. Rest if you can. He moves toward the door. We don't get a second attempt at this. The Masters rise. Kolar rolls his left shoulder, an old injury, Anakin notes, and files it for spacing considerations in the office. Tien is already calculating angles from the expression on his face. Fisto pauses beside Anakin on his way to the door, and says nothing. But the look he gives him is the look of a man who has decided, on incomplete information, to trust. It is enough. The call goes out at 0500. Not through official channels. Not through the temple's comm array, which Anakin has already flagged mentally as a potential intercept point for Senate intelligence. He uses his personal encrypted channel, the same frequency he and Rex established during the Christophsis campaign, a narrow-band signal that bounces off 3 relay stations before it reaches its destination and carries a rotating cipher that refreshes every 90 seconds. Rex picks up on the second pulse. General. No surprise in the voice. Rex has been answering pre-dawn calls from Anakin Skywalker for 3 years and has long since stopped treating the hour as significant. What matters is the tone, and Rex reads tone the way other men read written orders. What do we need? Anakin is standing at the viewport in his quarters, looking west. The executive building is a column of light on the horizon. Dawn is still an hour away, and the city below exists in the particular suspended state of a place that never fully sleeps but reaches, in these hours, for something close to quiet. A security lockdown, Anakin said. Executive District. Coordinate the approach corridors to the Senate building and the Chancellor's office complex. I need it in place within 40 minutes, and I need it held until you hear directly from me that it's lifted. A pause. Not hesitation. Rex doesn't hesitate. It's one of the qualities that makes him exceptional, but the pause of a man running the order through his internal command structure, checking its edges for complications. Justification for the cordon, Rex said. Credible threat intelligence against the Chancellor's person, Anakin replied. Sufficient for a precautionary perimeter under emergency security protocols. It doesn't need to be specific. The protocols exist for exactly this scenario. Commander Fox won't like his district being worked without a joint briefing. Fox answers to Senate Security Command, which answers to the Chancellor's office. Anakin said, "Tell him the order originates from the Chancellor's own security review. He'll stand down his patrols rather than duplicate coverage." He pauses. "Keep it clean, Rex. No confrontation. No positioning that looks like containment. This is a perimeter, not a siege." Another pause. Shorter this time. 40 minutes, Rex said. "It'll be in place. One more thing." Anakin watches a light freighter cross the middle distance, its running lights blinking slow and regular in the dark. If anyone attempts to transmit a priority signal from inside the executive complex on Senate emergency band in the next 3 hours, I want that signal flagged and held at the relay point. Not blocked. Flagged. I see it before it goes anywhere. The pause this time is the longest yet. Rex is not a man who asks unnecessary questions, but he is also not a man who follows orders off a cliff without at least looking over the edge first. This is one of the things that has always made him different from the pure order followers, the ones whose inhibitor chips were perhaps doing more work than anyone in the Republic cared to examine too closely. Anakin knows about the chips now. He has known about them for 23 years of the wrong life. The knowledge sits in the back of his processing like a splinter, present, specific, impossible to ignore. He cannot address it yet. That comes later. What matters right now is that Rex, in this moment, is making a choice with the full weight of his own judgment. And the fact that he is capable of making it at all is something Anakin refuses to take for granted. "Understood," Rex said. "General, is this going to be a problem?" Anakin almost smiles. The question is so precisely Rex. Not what's happening, not should I be worried, but the operational distillation, is this a problem? Meaning, is this something the 501st needs to be ready to move on? "It's going to be a solution," Anakin said. "Have your men ready to receive updated orders by 0800. Copy that. A beat. Stay sharp out there." The channel closes. He spends the next 20 minutes in his quarters running through the office layout one more time. Not because he needs to. The spatial memory is exact, dimensionally precise in a way that this still young body's recall would never be. And he knows it comes from the other life. From standing in that room across from Sidious 100 times, reading the geometry of the space with the particular attention of a man who always understood, on some level, that every room with Palpatine in it was a room where things could go wrong. But because the discipline of the review is itself useful, he starts with the entry point, the main reception anteroom outside the office proper, occupied in the pre-dawn hours by a single Senate Guard officer at the desk, and a rotating 2-man patrol that passes the corridor every 8 minutes. The patrol is the variable. The guard at the desk is manageable, not through force, not through anything that leaves a mark or a record, but through the simple authority of 5 Jedi Masters walking with purpose at dawn and a standing order from the Chancellor's office that clears the anteroom for private council business. He has drafted that order already. It carries Palpatine's own authorization code, applied to a routine security clearance form that Anakin has legitimate access to as the Chancellor's personal representative. The form is not a forgery. That is important. In 30 years of reflecting on the mechanics of how Palpatine built his empire, the lesson Anakin extracted was not that Sidious was brilliant at deception, though he was, but that he was brilliant at using real infrastructure, real laws, real codes, real channels. He didn't build a shadow government. He was the government, and used it from the inside. 2 can play at that. He moves through the office itself in his mind. The desk, centered, the viewports behind it, 3 panels. The center one with the concealed panel that slides to reveal the secured communications array. The 2 visitor chairs positioned for an audience, not a conversation, deliberately asymmetric. The Chancellor's chair elevated by precisely 7 centimeters. An architectural power statement so subtle that most people who sat in those chairs never consciously registered it, but felt it anyway. The side table with the Sith holocron concealed beneath a false panel in its base, a detail he knows because he was given access to it, briefly in the other life, presented as a gift. A measure of trust. He is going to enjoy watching Palpatine be arrested in that room, not out of revenge. He examines the feeling carefully, the way he has learned to examine all his feelings, and finds it clean. It is satisfaction. The particular satisfaction of a corrected error, a course restored, a door that should never have closed left open. The clock on the wall reads 0527. He gathers his equipment. The lightsaber goes to his belt last, the familiar weight of it settling against his hip like a punctuation mark. He built this blade in the months after Geonosis, a replacement for the one he lost in the arena, and it is not the saber he will carry through the darker years, not the red-bladed instrument of everything he destroyed, but the one that preceded all of it. He holds it for a moment, before it goes to his belt. Blue. It burns blue. He clips it and leaves the room. The corridor outside the temple's west residential wing is empty, except for a single Padawan making the early morning run to the training halls. A human girl of maybe 14 who rounds the corner at speed and stops dead when she finds Anakin in her path. She stares. He moves to the right, and she scurries past with a breathless sorry Knight Skywalker that trails behind her like a flag. He doesn't smile, but something in the chest region does something adjacent to it. He is passing the comm alcove near the stairwell when his earpiece activates, Rex, on the encrypted channel, 43 minutes after the call ended. Perimeter is in place, Rex said. Fox took it as you called it, assumed the order originated upstairs and repositioned his eastern patrol to avoid overlap. No friction, no questions. A pause. Relay flag is active. Nothing coming out of the executive complex on emergency band without your eyes on it first. Good, Anakin said. Hold position and wait. Copy. Another pause. And then, in a different register. Quieter. More deliberate. The voice Rex uses when he's stepping outside the strict boundaries of operational communication into something that doesn't have a field manual entry. General. Whatever this is, the boys are with you. Anakin stops walking. He stands in the corridor with the temple's recycled air moving around him and the weight of what Rex just said settling somewhere below the tactical layer. In the place where things land that you don't have a strategic response to. The boys are with you. He knows what they almost became. He knows what they would have done, what the chips would have made them do, to every Jedi in this building, to every friend he has ever had in his life, to his own men who trusted him with their survival across 3 years of a war that was never what they thought it was. He is going to fix it. All of it. But that comes later. Right now there is a corridor to walk and a war room to reach and 4 masters waiting for the word. Tell them I know, Anakin said. He closes the channel and keeps moving. The executive building's lobby is marble and silence at this hour. Senate guards flank the main entrance in ceremonial formation, their golden armor catching the low interior light, their posture the precise, slightly artificial uprightness of men who have stood the same post so many times that the body has memorized it independently of the mind. They register the 5 Jedi entering through the main doors at 0611, with the particular attentiveness of professionals who are trained to note everything and react to nothing unless given a reason. Anakin gives them no reason. He walks at the center of the formation, not the front, not protected at the rear, but the center, equidistant from each of the 4 masters, flanking him at the exact spacing they rehearsed in the briefing room. Mace is to his left and 1 step back, Fisto to his right and 1 step back, Kolar and Tin at the outer edges, 1.5 meters of open air between each man. The formation looks, to an outside observer, like 5 Jedi walking with the slightly dispersed casualness of colleagues moving between appointments. It is not casual. Every gap in the formation is load-bearing. The Senate guard at the lobby desk looks up. Anakin places the clearance form on the desk surface, 1 smooth motion, no hesitation. The form already open to the authorization section. And says, Private Council Security Review. Chancellor's Standing Order. We'll need the secured turbolift. The guard reads the form. Reads it again. Finds Palpatine's authorization code in the lower section and the Standing Security Review provision that Anakin pulled from the legitimate operational framework 17 minutes ago. His eyes move from the form to Anakin's face, and then to the four masters arranged in a loose perimeter behind him. Of course, Knight Skywalker, the guard said. He triggers the turbolift from his desk panel. Level 47. The Chancellor's aide arrives at 0700. Will you need the anteroom cleared before then? We won't be long, Anakin said. The turbolift ascends in silence. 47 floors. The indicator climbs in pale blue increments. Anakin watches it and does not watch it. His awareness is on the room around him, on the quality of attention each master is carrying into this, because the last 90 seconds before a confrontation tells you things about your team that 3 hours of briefing cannot. Polar is still. Not the stillness of a man suppressing nerves. There are no nerves to suppress, or if there are, they went somewhere unreachable years ago. He stands with his hands at his sides and his eyes on the turbolift doors, and the quality of his attention is total and without texture. He is already in the fight. He has simply not yet arrived at the location of it. Tien is running angles. Anakin can see it in the subtle movement of his eyes, mapping the office from memory, recalculating sight lines as the turbolift rises and he adjusts for what he does and doesn't know. Good. A man who is still thinking is a man who is still adaptable. Fisto exhales once through his nose. Slow, deliberate. Then his expression settles into the particular focused serenity that Anakin has come to understand, in the last several hours, is not calm in the absence of danger, but calm in the full presence of it. The man has made his peace with the next few minutes. He is ready. Mace does not move, does not adjust, does not recalculate. He has done this. Perhaps not this exact operation, not this enemy, not this geometry, but the interior process of it. The compression of everything you are into the space between one moment and the next. He has done so many times that it no longer requires preparation. He simply is ready, the way a blade is ready, without effort or declaration. Anakin breathes and feels the force around all four of them, the living current of it, running between them like a shared circuit. 4 extraordinary men. All 5 of them are walking out of that office. The turbolift stops. The anteroom is empty. The standing order cleared it 12 minutes ago. Anakin confirmed the clearance via Rex's monitoring of the executive complex's internal comm traffic at 0558. A brief administrative notation that the Chancellor's anteroom was to be vacated for a private security review. The Senate guard officer who normally occupies the desk has relocated to the corridor outside. The 2-man patrol is currently at the far end of its 8-minute circuit. 6 minutes before they return. Enough. Mace moves to the office door and does not knock. The door recognizes Jedi Council clearance and opens. Palpatine is at his desk. This is the first variable. In the briefing, Anakin flagged 2 likely positions, desk or standing at the viewport, and the desk position is the more dangerous of the 2 because it gives him immediate access to the concealed panel in the chair. He noted this then. He notes it now, files it, and adjusts the entry without breaking stride. The office is exactly as he remembers it. The great curved desk. The viewport behind it, Coruscant's pre-dawn light laying pale blue geometry across the floor. The 2 visitor chairs. The side table. The quiet, ordered authority of a room that has been designed, deliberately and at great expense, to make whoever sits across from that desk feel the precise weight of the power held behind it. Palpatine looks up. The expression on his face in the first half-second is the one Anakin has been waiting for, the genuine unguarded version. Before the performance engages, he takes in 5 Jedi, reads the formation, reads the faces, and for one fraction of one moment the ancient intelligence behind the cultivated grandfatherly features does the actual calculation. Then the performance engages. Master Windu. The voice is warm. Concerned. Exactly the right calibration of a man who is surprised but not alarmed, extending good faith in the face of an unexpected situation. And Anakin, this is quite the assembly for dawn. Is something wrong? Sheev Palpatine, Mace said. You are under arrest. The warmth drops. Not slowly. Not with the theatrical gradation of a stage villain savoring his reveal. It drops the way a mask drops when no one is watching anymore. Instantly, completely, the performance simply ceasing because the audience it was designed for no longer exists. What remains is the face beneath. And the face beneath is very old and very cold and absolutely without surprise. He stands. The motion of standing draws the sleeve blade. It is exactly as Anakin described it. Simultaneous, the draw hidden inside the architecture of a man rising from his chair, the hilt clearing the concealed holster in the cuff in the same fluid second that his feet find the floor. The crimson blade ignites with a sound that is almost gentle, a soft chromatic hiss that bears no relationship to what it is about to attempt. He drops. The center of gravity plummets, a full compression, knees bending, weight loading into the back leg, and Anakin is already shouting wide even as it happens, the single word carrying everything, and the formation expands. Every master steps back and out simultaneously, the center of the room opening up, and the corkscrew strike that comes ascending from the left catches nothing but air. Palpatine spins out of the drop and finds no one in range. For the first time in Anakin's memory, Sheev Palpatine looks at a tactical situation and recalibrates. The recalibration takes less than a second. Anakin watches it happen, the eyes moving across the formation, reading gaps, reading distances, reading the specific positioning of each master and finding, at every angle, the same answer. No clustering, no obvious weak point. The geometry offers him nothing. He goes for Kolar anyway. Not because Kolar is weak, he is not, but because Palpatine's instinct is proximity, and Kolar is the nearest target. The assault is ferocious, one blade moving in rapid overlapping arcs, the speed of it genuinely extraordinary for a man of that physical age. The Sith power underneath the movement visible now without its disguise, raw and dark and decades old. Kolar meets it. Blade up, catching the strike and redirecting it rather than absorbing it. A technique that requires precise geometry and absolute confidence in the geometry, because the force behind that crimson blade is substantial, and absorbing it directly would compromise his footing. He redirects, steps wide, creates distance. Tien closes from the right. Not an attack, a pressure, a repositioning, forcing Palpatine to track two vectors simultaneously. Fisto mirrors from the left. The three masters create a rotating pressure system that denies Palpatine the thing his style requires most, which is a target that stays in one place long enough to destroy. He is fast. He is brutally, almost incomprehensibly fast, but he is not faster than 5 people who know where he is going before he goes there. Anakin moves to the center. He does not ignite his blade. Not yet. He stands in the open floor between the desk and the viewport, with both hands at his sides and his blade unlit. And he waits, because this is the moment he designed the entire formation around. The eye of it. The point that Palpatine cannot ignore. Those yellow eyes find him across the churning geometry of the fight. Anakin, Palpatine said. The voice is different now. Not the Chancellor's warm baritone. Something older and more precise, stripped of its social engineering, speaking directly to the frequency it has spent 11 years learning. Anakin looks back at him and says nothing. Mace comes in from the left. The purple blade ignites. The purple blade catches the crimson saber mid-arc and holds it, not deflects. Holds, the contact point between Mace's blade and Palpatine's generates a compression that vibrates through the floor, and for a moment the two men are locked in a geometry of pure competing force, the Sith Lord's arm driving forward. The Vapad Master's wrist redirecting, neither giving ground, both reading the other in the space of a held breath. Then Mace rotates his wrist by 15 degrees and Palpatine's blade skids off to the right, and the moment breaks. The fight restructures. Tien presses from the northeast corner, his blade low and angled, cutting off the path back to the desk. Fisto holds the viewport side, positioning himself between Palpatine and the concealed communications panel behind the center window. He doesn't know it's there, but the geometry of his assignment puts him there regardless, and Anakin notes this with quiet satisfaction. Kolar takes the door side, blade up, closing the only exit. The formation is a cage. 5 points. No gaps. Palpatine knows it. He attacks Mace with a ferocity that has nothing of the political creature in it, and everything of the thing that was always underneath. The Sith who spent 1,000 years of institutional memory learning how to kill Jedi, wearing the knowledge of their weaknesses the way other men wear skin. The combination is extraordinary. Precise and savage at the same time, each strike designed not just to damage, but to create the specific defensive response that sets up the next strike 3 moves ahead. Mace answers every one of them. Vapad does something that no other form does, that no other living practitioner besides Mace can do without being consumed by it. It takes the darkness coming in and reflects it back. Feeds on it. Uses the attacker's own malice as fuel. Anakin has never seen a full Vapad engagement at close range. He has heard Obi-Wan describe it once, in a rare moment of candor, as watching a man stand at the edge of a cliff and use the wind that should blow him off to hold himself in place instead. Watching it now, he understands. Palpatine drives harder. Mace gets stronger. The feedback loop builds. "Your friends are a temporary inconvenience," Palpatine said, and the voice carries across the room without effort, projected not with volume but with the particular resonance of a man who has spent 60 years making himself heard in large chambers. He is still fighting Mace while he speaks. 2 things at once, effortlessly. "You know that, Anakin. They always were." Anakin doesn't answer. "I know what you felt when you walked into this room. A blade redirected, a counterstrike, 3 meters of ground exchanged and recovered in 2 seconds. I know what you've been carrying since the moment you woke up this morning. Don't you think I've seen it before? The certainty, the clarity, the feeling that everything is finally visible. A pause timed to coincide with a particularly demanding exchange against Mace, the precision of it almost theatrical. That feeling has a name, and you know what it is. You're going to run out of things to say," Anakin said. Palpatine's eyes find him for a fraction of a second across the fight. "Pride," Palpatine said. "That's what it is. The pride of a man who thinks he's finally seen through the deception. But Anakin, I am the deception. There is no through. There is only the version of events I choose to let you believe you've uncovered." He says it the way he has always said the things that work, not loudly, not with urgency, but with the absolute confidence of a man describing observable reality. No salesmanship, just fact. Anakin feels the shape of it, the old design of it. This specific channel, opened 11 years ago with a boy who was lonely and afraid, widened carefully over years of patient architecture until it was load-bearing, until it held the weight of the entire dark side of his life. He recognizes it the way a man recognizes the handwriting of someone who once forged his name. "Padmé," Palpatine said. The word lands in the room differently than everything else has. Not louder, just differently weighted. Ian's eyes move to Anakin for half a second. An involuntary check. Anakin does not look back. He keeps his eyes on Palpatine and feels the word hit the place in his chest where the grief lives, and feels the grief respond to it the way grief always responds to being named, with a reflexive surge, the body's memory of a wound. He lets it surge. He does not move. "She is alive right now," Palpatine continued. Mace drives him back 3 steps and he gives the ground without concern, using the retreat to position himself better, circling, "Whatever you've decided to do today, she is alive, and she is frightened. And there is one thing she needs from you that no Jedi in this room can give her." He stops moving. Blade up, not attacking. The sudden stillness more aggressive than the motion was. "You know what that is. You have always known. It is perfect. It is the most perfect version of it, targeted, specific, weaponized with the exact knowledge of where the structure of a man is weakest. He knows Padmé. He has always known exactly what Padmé means to Anakin, not because he could read minds, but because he built the architecture of that meaning himself, stone by stone, over years, as a leverage point, as a tool. Anakin Skywalker at 22 would have felt the ground shift under him. The man standing in this office does not have that ground to shift. She's going to be fine, Anakin said. Simple, flat, not defiant. Defiance would imply the need to push back against something still exerting pressure, and the thing Palpatine built his influence on is no longer exerting pressure. He is not fighting it. He is simply reporting an observable fact. She's going to live, Anakin continued, and so are the children, and they are not going to grow up in the empire you built. And she is not going to die in a medical bay on Polis Massa wondering why she lost the will to stay alive. He watches Palpatine's face as he says this. He is looking for something specific. I know exactly what happens to her if today goes the way it goes in the version of history where I make the wrong choice. I know what happens to my son, my daughter. He tilts his head. You didn't know there were two, did you? Something moves behind the yellow eyes. It is not much. It is a very small movement, in a face that has been trained for decades to give nothing away, but it is there, the first genuine recalibration, not tactical but informational, the processing of a data point that does not fit the model. You're bluffing, Palpatine said. I'm not, Anakin replied, but I understand why you'd need to believe that. Because the alternative is that you've lost, and you know it, and there is nothing left to do but figure out whether you want to do this the hard way or the harder way. The yellow eyes hold his for 3 full seconds. Then Palpatine attacks. Not Mace, not Kolar, or Tien, or Fisto. He drives directly toward Anakin, the mask fully off now, the Sith Lord in total expression, and the attack is the most honest thing Anakin has ever seen from him, because it has nothing of the political in it. Nothing of the patient architect. It is purely what it is, a very powerful, very dangerous man refusing the alternative. Halfway across the room his free hand drops toward the desk, a half-second reach toward the chair panel, the second blade the contingency, and Tien is already there, blade angled low across the path, closing it off without a word. Palpatine doesn't break stride. He abandons the reach and comes at Anakin with what he has. Anakin ignites his blade. Blue, in the pre-dawn gray of the office, against the crimson of the incoming saber. It is the color of a corrected thing. He meets the blade with his own and steps inside the strike, rotating his shoulder to bring it past him, and the closeness of it. The face of Sheev Palpatine 6 inches from his. The yellow eyes burning. The raw dark side power radiating off him like heat from a reactor core. Is familiar. He has been here before. On a platform above a burning planet. On a throne room floor above the galaxy. In 100 moments, across 2 lives, where this man was the gravity that everything else orbited. He presses back. Not with rage. Not with the dark side reaching up to meet the dark side coming in. With the full weight of what he is now. A man who has lived the cost of every wrong choice. Who has counted every life it consumed, who has returned here not to prove anything but to correct everything, and who has nothing left that this man can threaten. Palpatine drives. Anakin holds. Mace enters from the left. Kolar from the right. The cage closes. Palpatine breaks off and retreats to the viewport, blade up. His back to the glass. The Coruscant pre-dawn spread behind him like a stage set he no longer controls. He looks at Anakin. For the second time in 60 years of absolute power, Sheev Palpatine is in a room with nowhere to go. His eyes move to the viewport behind him. A calculation. Don't, Anakin said quietly. The calculation completes. He stays. The first bolt comes without warning. Not without tells. Anakin reads the tells in the half-second before it fires. The slight drop of the shoulders. The fingers spreading, the dark side pulling inward like a breath before a shout, but without the theatrical preamble that the political creature would have used. No speech. No ultimatum. The Sith Lord has moved past the part of himself that performs, and into the part that simply acts. The lightning erupts from both hands simultaneously. It does not target one person. It fans, a broad arc meant to force every member of the formation to break and cover, to shatter the cage geometry into 5 separate defensive problems and use the chaos of the scatter to create an opening. It is tactically sound. In the office on the other side of history. In the version of this moment that Anakin spent 23 years carrying like a wound, it worked. Mace caught most of it with his blade. The others scattered. The formation broke. Anakin reaches out with the Force and catches it. Not deflects. Catches. Both hands come up, palms forward. And he takes the full output of Palpatine's Force lightning into his hands the way a man might catch water from a tap, meeting it at the point of arrival, feeling the voltage scream up his arms and into his shoulders, the sheer dark power of it enormous in a way that has never diminished across any number of encounters, and holds it. The room goes very still. Palpatine's output does not stop. He drives it harder, both arms fully extended now, the lightning continuous and escalating. Because this is not something that should be possible, and the response to the impossible, when you are Sheev Palpatine, is to apply more power until the impossible gives way. The blue-white current pours from his fingers and meets Anakin's palms and goes nowhere. Anakin's arms shake with the effort. It costs. He will not pretend to himself that it doesn't cost. The force required to hold this is total. Every channel open. Every connection to the living force that this young body provides, pulled fully into the work of containment. His vision narrows at the edges. The room contracts to a single point, which is the point of contact between the lightning in his hands, the crackling boundary where 2 enormous forces press against each other. But he has held worse. He has been on the other side of this. He has been the man in the black suit with the burned lungs standing in the Emperor's throne room absorbing the lightning his son couldn't survive, holding it long enough to act. He knows what this power feels like from the inside of it. He knows its shape, its rhythm, its specific signature of escalation and plateau. He has felt it destroy him once already. It does not get to do it twice. Mace steps to Anakin's right, blade up, but not striking, reading the situation, the shatter point calculation running, waiting for the exact fracture point to present itself. Kolar and Tien hold position at the outer edges of the room. Fisto has moved to cover the desk, cutting off the concealed panel in the chair that Palpatine has not yet attempted to reach a second time. Which means he has not yet fully committed to the conclusion that this is over. He hasn't. He is still calculating. "You cannot hold that indefinitely," Palpatine said. The voice carries even through the sustained roar of the lightning, and it is different now, not the Chancellor's voice, not the warm baritone of the performance, but something that goes further back than that. The voice that existed before the costume of Sheev Palpatine was ever put on. Ancient, cold specific, in the way of a very old intelligence that has spent a very long time being the apex of every room it has ever occupied. "You're right," Anakin said. He takes one step forward. The lightning follows. It has to. It is continuous. It connects them, and stepping into it is the last thing Palpatine's calculation predicted. The calculation was built on the assumption that a man holding Force lightning in his bare hands is defending, is fixed in place, is waiting for the assault to end. The calculation did not account for a man who has already died once, and finds the proposition considerably less motivating than it used to be. Another step. The effort climbs exponentially with proximity. The shaking in his arms moves into his chest, his teeth, his vision narrowing further to a column of crackling blue-white between him and the man at the viewport. He is aware of sweat. He is aware of the young body's limits pressing at the edges of what he is asking it to do. He is aware that there is a version of this that goes wrong, a threshold somewhere ahead where the cost exceeds the capacity, and he is aware that he does not know exactly where that threshold is. He takes another step anyway. Because this is what the boy he was never learned, and what the man he became only learned when it was far too late, that the dark side is not stronger. It has never been stronger. It is simply louder, and easier, and available at the lowest moments when the easier thing is exactly what a suffering man will reach for. But the light side, the full capacity of a Force connection, without fear in it, without suppression, without 20 years of black armor limiting it to a fraction of its actual power, is not a diminished thing, was never a diminished thing. He reaches Palpatine at the 4th step, The lightning is still active between them, compressed now into the space of centimeters, and at this distance the toll on both of them is total. Palpatine's face, 6 inches from his, shows the first thing Anakin has seen on it that is neither calculation nor performance. Effort, real, physical, consuming effort. The lightning is costing him now the way it was never supposed to cost him, because it was never supposed to be held, and the holding of it has forced him to escalate past the level of output he planned for, and the escalation is extracting its price. Anakin looks at him, not with hatred. He has examined what he feels in this proximity, in this moment, and found it free of hatred. Found it free of almost everything except a specific and complete clarity. This man built a machine for producing suffering and ran it for 6 decades and called it order. He is not a monster. He is worse than a monster. He is a man who made choices, every one of them deliberate, every one of them toward the same destination, and never once considered that the destination might be reached. "You told me once," Anakin said, the words steady despite everything his body is currently doing, that the dark side was a pathway to abilities some consider unnatural. The yellow eyes are very close. The lightning screams between them. "You were right," Anakin said. "But you forgot something." He lets the Force flood completely open. Not a technique. Not a counterattack. Simply opening, removing the last margin of restraint, allowing the full connection that this body was born with, and this life has not yet damaged to run without limit, and letting it meet the lightning not as a wall, but as a tide. The lightning stops. Not gradually. Not with a sputter. It stops the way a fire stops when the oxygen is gone. Completely. Immediately. The absence of it as total as its presence was. Palpatine's hands drop. His arms drop. He takes one step back and finds the viewport glass behind him and stops, because there is nowhere further to go. He is breathing hard. Anakin is also breathing hard. He lets his hands lower slowly, deliberately, the way you lower a weapon you've decided not to use. His palms are red. The skin has taken the current and held it, and it has left its mark, and he registers this with the detached interest of a man making notes for later. He steps back. Creates distance. "The foundation of your power," Anakin said quietly, "is that you understand what people are afraid of losing. You've always been very good at that." He looks at the man against the viewport, diminished now in a way that has nothing to do with physical injury. "But I've already lost everything once. There is nothing left for that to work on." Palpatine says nothing. Mace moves. Mace Windu moves like a closing door. Not fast in the way that spectacle is fast. No leaping arc, no flourish, no lightsaber work designed to be witnessed. He crosses the distance between himself and Palpatine in 4 steps with the purple blade angled low and his footwork so precise that each step eliminates exactly one of Palpatine's remaining options until there are none left. It is the most economical thing Anakin has ever seen in a fight. It is also the most final. Palpatine raises his blade. The exchange lasts 11 seconds. Later, if asked, Anakin would not be able to describe it in the way that combat is usually described, as a sequence of strikes and counters, positions and responses. It does not have that structure. What it has is Mace reading, in real time, the exact location of every fracture in Palpatine's current state. The exhaustion in the left arm from the sustained lightning output. The compromised footwork from backing against the viewport. The half-second delay in his blade's response time that wasn't there 20 minutes ago, and pressing each one in sequence with the calm, methodical precision of a man closing accounts. Vapad at its limit is not beautiful. It is not meant to be. It is meant to be conclusive. The disarm takes the blade cleanly. Mace's strike comes in at an angle that forces Palpatine to overextend the wrist to cover it, and the moment the wrist overextends, the blade goes. Not knocked away, not dramatically sent spinning across the room, but simply removed from the grip by a rotation of Mace's blade that applies pressure at the exact angle the joint cannot hold against. The crimson saber hits the floor and rolls 2 meters and stops. Palpatine drives at Mace's left side with something close to desperation beneath the technique, and the desperation is visible now, the way the effort was visible before. Not in the face, but in the body. In the quality of the movement. A man reaching for a weapon that is no longer there. Still fighting with the geometry of a fight that has already ended. Mace does not move his feet. He absorbs the empty aggression. The Vapad feedback draws from it, channels it, and his next movement carries the accumulated force of everything Palpatine has thrown at him across the last 20 minutes. A single controlled strike to the wrist. The last crimson saber joins the first on the floor. Palpatine stands at the viewport with empty hands. The room holds the moment. Kolar and Tian have not moved from their positions. Fisto stands near the desk, his blade still lit, his expression carrying the specific stillness of a man who prepared extensively for something that finished before he was fully needed. There is no disappointment in it. There is something closer to relief, and beneath that, something he is still processing that has no name yet. Mace holds the purple blade at Palpatine's throat, not touching, close enough that the heat of it is registering on skin. Palpatine looks at Mace. His face has completed its transformation now, not the Chancellor, not the performance of the Chancellor, not even the full Sith Lord in open aggression, but something underneath all of those that is simply the face of a very old man who has reached the end of a very long calculation and found it comes out wrong. The yellow eyes are still. The breathing is still elevated. His hands are at his sides. "You won't execute me," Palpatine said. "You know what that makes you." It is his last tool. Anakin hears the specific frequency of it, the same register as the manipulation in the fight, but stripped now of everything except the core argument, deployed because it is the only thing left in the inventory. He is not wrong that it's a real argument. He is wrong that it will work on this particular man in this particular moment. Mace does not answer. Anakin steps forward. Not between them. He has no interest in shielding Palpatine from Mace's judgment, and he would not insult Mace by implying he needs to be stopped. He steps to Mace's left and addresses the man at the viewport directly. "He's not going to execute you," Anakin said. "Neither am I, not because of what it would make us. Because of what it would make the next 30 years. He holds Palpatine's eyes. You die here, and you become a martyr. A mystery. The corrupt Chancellor the Jedi assassinated in his office before dawn. Someone builds something from that. Someone always builds something from that." He pauses. "You live, and you stand in front of the Senate, and every system you built gets taken apart in the open, in the light, with the galaxy watching. That is the ending. You don't survive." The yellow eyes move from Anakin to Mace and back. "Poetic," Palpatine said. "From you, particularly practical," Anakin replied. He nods to Fisto, who moves to the desk and opens the lower left drawer, the location Anakin specified in the briefing, the detail that required no guesswork. The drawer where the suppression cuffs are stored in every Chancellor's office as a standard security provision for hostile dignitary detentions. Fisto finds them exactly where Anakin said they would be and brings them across the room without comment. The cuffs are a simple design. Durasteel alloy banded with cortosis weave, with a force-dampening field generator embedded in the connecting link. They are not painful. They are not dramatic. They close around Sheev Palpatine's wrists with a sound like two mechanical locks engaging. Which is exactly what they are, and the force-dampening field activates, and the room changes in a way that is not visible but is immediately felt by every force-sensitive present. It is the absence of pressure. Anakin has not been consciously aware, until this moment, of the constant low-level dark side emanation that has been present in this room since the door opened. The weight of it, the particular quality of a darkness that has been cultivated for decades, fed and tended and allowed to grow until it saturated the space around its source, the way damp saturates old stone. It was background. Now it is gone. The room feels different. Lighter is not the right word. Cleaner, Palpatine looks at his cuffed hands. Then he looks up. "You believe you've won something," he said. Directed at Anakin specifically. The voice is different without the force behind it. Still precise, still controlled, but ordinary in a way it has never been in Anakin's entire memory. Human, almost, the voice of a man. You believe this is the shape of victory. I believe you're going to the Jedi Temple holding facility and then to a Senate tribunal, Anakin said. And yes, I believe that's a victory. You can characterize it however you need to. Palpatine says nothing further. Mace deactivates his blade. The purple light dies, and the office returns to the pale blue of early Coruscant dawn coming through the viewport. Outside, the city is beginning its morning, traffic building in the lower lanes, the first light touching the upper spires of the Senate district. The ordinary enormous machinery of a civilization that does not yet know what happened in this room in the last 40 minutes. Kohler retrieves both fallen crimson sabers from the floor. He handles them with the careful neutrality of a man picking up unexploded ordnance, which is essentially what they are, and secures them at his belt. Tien moves to the door and opens it. The anteroom beyond is empty. Mace takes Palpatine's arm, not roughly, not gently, with the specific practiced grip of a man who has escorted hostile subjects before and knows the exact amount of contact required to maintain control without performing cruelty, and walks him toward the door. At the threshold, Palpatine stops. Not resistance. He simply stops and looks back at the office, at the desk, the viewport, the two chairs positioned for audiences that will never happen now, and the look on his face is the most unguarded thing Anakin has seen from him since the mask came off. He is not afraid. He is not defiant. He is looking at the room the way a man looks at something he built with his hands, something that cost him everything and gave him everything, before someone takes it from him. Then he turns and walks through the door. All 5 Jedi follow him out. The office sits empty behind them, both lightsabers gone, the cuffs gone, the dark side presence gone, the dawn light falling across the desk, and the 2 chairs and the floor where the lightning died. And the room that was the center of the galaxy's suffering for 60 years holds nothing now but the quiet. Fisto is the last one out. He pauses in the doorway. He looks back once. Then he closes the door. The Temple Med Bay occupies the eastern face of the 3rd residential tier, and at 0800 it smells of Bacta and recycled air, and the particular antiseptic neutrality of a space designed to process damage without accumulating the memory of it. Anakin sits on the edge of a Med Bay cot, with both hands in a regenerative solution bath. His palms submerged to the wrist in a pale blue gel that pulls heat from the lightning burns with a slow drawing pressure. The burns are not severe. The Meddroid classified them as 2nd degree across the palmar surface, with minor nerve involvement at the fingertip pads, and projected a full recovery in 72 hours with consistent treatment. He is not thinking about his hands. He is thinking about a number, 128. The approximate count of clone trooper battalions currently deployed across the Outer Rim, the Mid-Rim, the core worlds, and the staging areas on Coruscant itself. Each battalion, each man, each inhibitor chip, sitting in its precise location, waiting for a signal that, as of 40 minutes ago, no longer has a sender. Waiting is not the same as disarmed. The hologram activates at 0817. Obi-Wan appears above the projector disc in blue-white miniature, standing in what appears to be a corridor on Utapau, the distinctive sandstone architecture visible in the background, warm-toned and layered, carved directly from the sinkhole walls. He is in armor. There is a cut above his left eyebrow that he has not addressed, and his expression carries the specific quality of a man who received a transmission 40 minutes ago that restructured his understanding of the last several hours and has been moving through combat airspace since then while attempting to process it. He looks at Anakin for a long moment. "You're going to explain this to me," Obi-Wan said, at length, in considerable detail. "I will," Anakin replied. "Later, Palpatine," Obi-Wan said. The word arrives the way Mace's expression arrived when Anakin first spoke it, not disbelief, but the specific weight of a man feeling the retroactive shape of something he sensed, but never located. "How long have you known?" "Long enough," Anakin said. "Grievous?" "Dead," Obi-Wan replied. 4 hours ago. He pauses. "Anakin, are you all right?" The question lands differently than it would have yesterday. In the other version of this day, in the corridor after leaving Mace's office. In the moment before everything went wrong, Obi-Wan asked him a version of this question, and he answered it badly because he was not all right and couldn't say so, and the gap between those two facts was wide enough to lose a republic in. Yes, Anakin said. And means it. Obi-Wan looks at him through the hologram with the particular attention of a man who has spent 14 years learning the difference between Anakin Skywalker's honesty and Anakin Skywalker's performance of honesty, and the look on his face when he finds what he finds is quietly startled. "All right," Obi-Wan said softly. "What do you need from me? Stay on Utapau. Secure the Separatist command infrastructure, every comm array, every battle droid coordination relay, everything. We're going to need a full accounting of their command structure in the next 12 hours. Don't let anything transmit off-planet until you hear from me." "Understood." A pause. "Mace?" "Intact," Anakin said. "All of them." The startled expression returns, deeper this time. Then something loosens in Obi-Wan's face that Anakin recognizes as the particular relief of a man who prepared himself for news he did not receive. "I'll contact you from the ship," Obi-Wan said. An hour. The hologram dissolves. Mace enters the medbay at 0831 with a datapad and the expression of a man who has been awake for 26 hours and has approximately 40 hours of work to complete in the next 12. He looks at Anakin's hands in the solution bath, notes the burns without comment, and takes the chair across from the cot. "The Senate Security Committee is convening in 2 hours," Mace said. "Senate Vice Chair Masameda assumes Chancellor Pro Tem authority pending the tribunal. We're moving to contain that, since Ameda's relationship with Palpatine's office is complicated at best." He sets the datapad on the cot beside Anakin. This is the more immediate problem. Anakin looks at the datapad. The document open on its surface is a medical administrative file from the Kaminoan facility. Clone production records, health monitoring protocols, the standard maintenance documentation for 200,000 soldiers that no one in the Republic has ever read closely enough to find what is buried in subsection 47G of the Biometric Compliance Annex. "The chips. I know what it is," Anakin said. Mace looks at him. "I know where to find the deactivation protocol," Anakin continued. "Palpatine's personal files, not the Chancellor's office system, his private archive, the one accessed through the terminal behind the left viewport panel in his office. The deactivation sequence is stored there under a Sith encryption key. The key itself is derivable from the command phrase he uses to access the archive." He pauses. "I know the command phrase. The silence in the medbay has a specific quality." "You know the command phrase to Palpatine's private Sith archive," Mace said. "Yes, and you know this because..." "Because I know it," Anakin said. "That's going to have to be sufficient for now." Mace holds his gaze for 5 full seconds, then he picks up the datapad and stands. "I'll send Tian to retrieve the sequence," he said. "How confident are you in the phrase?" "Completely," he nods once and moves toward the door, and he is almost through it when Anakin says, "The broadcast needs to go out within the next 4 hours. Before Palpatine's arrest becomes public knowledge, and before anyone with access to a secondary activation channel decides to use it." Mace stops. "There are secondary channels. There were contingencies for everything," Anakin said. "Assume there are secondary channels. The broadcast goes out at 11:43. It takes 2 hours and 22 minutes from Tian's entry into Palpatine's office to the moment the signal reaches the Grand Army Relay Network. 2 hours of technical work that Anakin monitors from the command center on the temple's upper level. Tracking the decryption of the private archive, the extraction of the deactivation sequence, the adaptation of the sequence to a broadcast-compatible format, and the identification of the relay architecture that reaches every active clone helmet simultaneously. It is not clean. The sequence requires 3 separate decryption passes, and the relay architecture has a redundancy lock that takes 40 minutes to circumvent. At 10:52, a priority transmission attempts to leave the executive complex on Senate emergency band. The flag Rex placed, intercepts it in 11 seconds, holds it, and sends Anakin the source, a junior aide in the Chancellor's administrative office who does not yet know what has happened and is attempting to reach Palpatine's private comm with a routine briefing request. The transmission is held. The aide is quietly redirected by two members of the Coruscant Guard and asked to wait in a secured room until the security review is complete. He is given tea. At 11:41, the broadcast is ready. Anakin looks at the confirmation screen for a moment. The technical specifications lay it out without drama, a signal of this type, on this frequency, reaching this many receivers simultaneously, would take approximately 4.2 seconds to propagate through the relay network to full coverage. 4.2 seconds. The span of time required to end the mechanism of the purge that would have consumed an entire generation. He authorizes the broadcast. Rex's call comes in at 11:56. General, the voice is different. Not compromised. Rex does not compromise. It is not in his construction, but carrying something underneath the operational register that Anakin has never heard from him before. We're getting reports from the battalions. The men are. A pause. The pause of a man selecting his words with unusual care. Some of them are asking what was in their heads. Anakin closes his eyes briefly. Tell them the truth, he said. All of it. They deserve that. And when they ask what it would have made them do, tell them it doesn't matter what it would have made them do, Anakin said. It matters what they do now, what they choose. That's always what mattered. He pauses. That goes for Fox's men too. They were following legitimate orders. They were never the threat. Make sure they know that. Rex is quiet for a moment. Copy that, he said. Then, carefully, General, what was almost done to us. Not a question about the mechanics, a question about the weight of it. The specific human weight of learning that a choice was almost made for you, in your own body, without your knowledge or consent. Anakin doesn't reach for comfort. He doesn't reach for the tactical reframe. I know, he said. I'm sorry. The line holds the silence for 3 seconds. We're with you, Rex said. All of us. By 1400, 7 senators have requested emergency closed sessions. Bail Organa issues a public statement calling for a full Senate tribunal within the hour, measured and precise, the statement of a man who has been waiting for the right moment and recognizes it when it arrives. Padmé's office releases nothing publicly, but at 13:47 a private message arrives on Anakin's personal comm, 3 words, no signature, in handwriting he would know in any version of any life. Come home soon. He reads it twice, sets the comm down on the console. Outside the temple windows, Coruscant is a city beginning to understand that the war it has been living inside for 3 years has a different shape than anyone was told. The holonet frequencies are crowded with fragmentary reports, conflicting accounts, the specific noise of a galactic information system trying to process something it has no existing category for. The sun is fully up. The Senate tribunal convenes 9 days later. It is not the trial anyone expected. The galaxy-anticipated spectacle, the disgraced Chancellor, the revealed Sith Lord, the unmasking of 60 years of patient conspiracy played out across a chamber built for exactly this kind of theater. What the Senate gets instead is documentation. 12 hours of it, spread across 3 sessions, presented without drama by a joint Jedi-Senate investigative body that has spent 9 days converting Palpatine's own private archive into admissible evidence. The archive says everything. Every manufactured crisis. Every engineered escalation. Both sides of the war, traced to a single source in meticulous financial and strategic records that Palpatine kept because he never believed anyone would find them. The Kaminoan contracts, the inhibitor chip specifications, the separatist funding channels, the names of every senator who was coerced, blackmailed, or simply bought across 3 decades of quiet consolidation. Palpatine sits through all 12 hours in the defendant's position, wrists in suppression cuffs, and says nothing. Not the silence of a man who has accepted defeat. Anakin, watching from the gallery, reads it correctly as the silence of a man who has decided that participation serves no remaining purpose. He is not contrite. He is not defiant. He has simply finished performing for an audience he no longer needs. The verdict takes 40 minutes. When it comes, Anakin is already gone. He requests the council session himself. This is the detail that surprises them most. Anakin can see it in the slight adjustment of posture that moves through the chamber when he walks in and takes the position in the center of the circle, not summoned. Not brought before them to answer for something, but present of his own choosing, standing with his hands at his sides and his face, carrying the particular quality of a man who has decided that the cost of honesty is lower than the cost of its alternative. 11 chairs. Yoda returned from Kashyyyk 4 days ago, and his chair is occupied, and his eyes have not left Anakin since he entered the room. Mace sits at the head position. His expression is unreadable in the way that Mace's expressions are always technically unreadable and always, to anyone paying sufficient attention, completely legible. "I have something to tell this council," Anakin said. Not in response to a question. "Not because I was found out. Because it is true, and you deserve to know it, and I am done with the architecture of concealment." He pauses, lets the next words arrive without ceremony. "I am married to Senator Padmé Amidala. We have been married for 3 years. She is currently 4 months pregnant with twins. The chamber holds this." Ki-Adi Mundi's expression moves through several positions before settling. Plo Koon is still. Depa Billaba closes her eyes briefly and opens them again. Kit Fisto, who has looked at Anakin with a specific quality of attention since the morning in the executive office, simply nods once, fractionally, as if a calculation he has been running has just confirmed its result. Mace says nothing. Yoda says nothing. Anakin continues. "I am not asking for a ruling on the marriage. I am not asking for permission or dispensation or the council's blessing retroactively applied. I am telling you because the order has operated for too long on the assumption that what its members conceal from it cannot damage it. I am telling you because I know, better than I have any right to explain to you, exactly how much that assumption costs." The silence holds for a long moment. Then Yoda speaks. "Sit," he said. Not a command. The voice is quiet, weighted with the particular gravity of 900 years learning when a word is sufficient. "Skywalker, sit." Anakin sits. Yoda's eyes rest on him with an attention that has nothing combative in it. The great ears are still. The ancient face carries something Anakin has never seen directed at him from this chair. In any version of any conversation he has ever had in this room, it carries consideration. Real consideration, not the performance of it. "Changed you have," Yoda said. "Not in the Force. In the Force, the same you are. More so, perhaps, but the quality of what you carry." He tilts his head slightly. "Seen it before? I have not." "In anyone." "I know," Anakin said. "Tell me what you carry," Yoda said. "You do not have to. But know this." He pauses. "Owe you a debt," the order does. Beginning to understand the size of it, we are only now. Something happens in Anakin's chest that he does not attempt to categorize. He looks at the old master and finds, in the looking, the specific and private acknowledgement of everything that was and is not, and might now be otherwise. 900 years of accumulated wisdom sitting across from him, and in the other life this wisdom failed him, and he failed it, and between the two failures an empire grew. He is not going to say this. It would not serve anything. But he holds it, briefly, and lets it mean what it means. "Thank you," Anakin said. Mace finds him afterward in the corridor outside the council chamber. He falls into step beside Anakin without preamble, the way Mace does everything, without announcing the intention, simply executing it. They walk the length of the corridor in silence before he speaks. "The marriage ruling," Mace said. "The council is going to revisit it. Not just for you. As a structural question." He says it as information, not as a gift. The way he would report a tactical development. It will take time. The order does not move quickly on structural questions. "I know," Anakin said. "The rank of master," Mace continued. "The vote was this morning, while you were in the gallery." He does not slow his pace, does not turn to look at Anakin, delivers it the way he delivered everything in this operation, with the absolute minimum of theater required. Unanimous. Anakin stops walking. Mace takes 2 more steps before he stops as well and turns, and looks at him with the expression that Anakin has come to understand, in the 9 days since the office, is Mace Windu's version of warmth. It does not look like other people's warmth. It looks like the complete absence of the wariness that was always there before. "You've been a master for years," Mace said. "The title is a formality." "Not entirely," Anakin replied. Mace looks at him for a moment. "No." He agrees. "Not entirely." He turns and continues down the corridor, and Anakin watches him go, and does not move for a moment, standing in the temple hallway with the morning light coming through the high windows and laying long rectangles of gold across the stone floor. Master Skywalker. He tries it quietly, internally, in the part of himself where the grief still lives alongside the coal of everything else, and finds that it fits differently than he expected. Not like validation. Like completion. The closing of a distance between what he was and what he should have been allowed to become, the gap that someone else decided to maintain, because a knight was more useful than a master, when the person maintaining the gap was the one manufacturing the crises. He lets it settle. Then he walks to the turbolift and takes it down. The apartment is quiet when he arrives. Padmé is at the desk near the window, reading something on a datapad. Senate business. Always Senate business. The work of dismantling 60 years of manufactured legislation is apparently not something that pauses for personal occasions. She looks up when he comes through the door, and the look she gives him is the one he has carried in memory across 2 lives and 30 years. The specific quality of it, the way her face moves when she sees him. He sits on the couch beside the desk rather than across from her, close enough that their arms are touching, and says nothing for a moment. She sets down the datapad. Outside the balcony window, Coruscant is a city in the slow and enormous process of becoming something different. The war is ending. Not all at once, not cleanly. The logistical reality of standing down 200,000 soldiers across 100 systems is a problem measured in months, not days, but the engine of it has been removed, and what remains is momentum gradually losing its force without a source to feed it. No empire waiting in the wings. No edict. No black armor. No children carried away in the dark. The sun is low over the cityscape, the light bronze and horizontal, the kind of evening light that makes even a planet city look, briefly, like something natural. "The council knows," Anakin said. Padmé's quiet for a moment. "How did they take it?" "Better than I expected." He pauses. "Better than we deserved, probably." She turns to look at him. Her hand finds his on the cushion between them. His right hand, the prosthetic one. The one that is present and functional and here. The one that in the other version of this life never held hers again after Mustafar, and she holds it without comment, the way she has always held it, without making anything of what it is. He looks at their hands together in the bronze evening light, and feels the grief that has lived in his chest since the moment of return. The coal of it. The specific weight he carried through 8 chapters of a corrected life. Go quiet. Not gone. He does not expect it to be gone. He has learned, finally and completely, that it is not supposed to be gone. It is supposed to be this, present and bearable, and no longer the thing that everything else orbits. He closes his fingers around hers. Outside, the city hums its vast and ordinary hum, and somewhere in the middle distance a freighter crosses the amber sky, its running lights just beginning to show against the coming dark, and the world that was almost lost continues, simply, to exist. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.